Jodhi, I wanted to start with your character because this is a show about the Bene Gesserit. So it is fundamentally about feminine power. And I love how your character wields it. I wanted to ask about working with Mark Strong, who plays your on-screen husband, the Emperor, and building that sort of power dynamic between the two of them, because I found it fascinating.
Well, I mean, it was a real gift. I think Empress Natalia is a bit of a kind of Tony Soprano underneath it all. And I think it's interesting the way that, we meet her in this quite disillusioned kind of place at the beginning where this marriage, is clearly not what she signed up for. It's not a partnership. It's a situation in which she's become a bit of an outsider and quite marginalised. And I think it's fascinating to see how, she manages to exert her influence as the series goes on. And it was incredible working with someone like Mark because I think we both brought a bit of our sort of theatre background to this, and we talked quite a lot about our characters. And he's a very generous actor, he's just such a pleasure to work with. So it was great, there was loads to explore.
What I think I'm allowed to say about Desmond is that, he's very mysterious and he has come from Arrakis. And also there is a greater role to play in the wider Dune storyline. And so I'm aware that Denis Villeneuve is writing Dune Messiah at the moment. Should we all be kind of getting together to try and petition him to get Desmond maybe a 10,000 years ago flashback? Is this something we should be doing collectively?
Yeah,
I think you'd love that.
Are you ready for it?
I want to have a dance school.
I mean, how about you? I feel like we could get everybody in on the flashback.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question.
I'm trying to be tricky.
It is interesting, isn't it? I suppose when you're going back in time and you're thinking about, I don't know, where these characters end up. It's an interesting question. I'm not sure it's one I can answer necessarily because it's 10,000 years before the film. So
yeah, I mean, that's the kind of interesting thing about this world is that there's so many different things to use as your like sacred text as an actor, because obviously you have the script, which is kind of fundamentally the sacred text, but then also there is the book that this is mostly adapted from, the Sisterhoods of Dune book. You have the actual original book. You have the movies. I mean, how did you navigate that kind of, where am I locking myself into as an actor?
For me, I think it was just making about the other actors and what I want from each individual actor. And in a way, it doesn't matter what world you're in. I'm looking for love from somebody. I'm trying to make somebody be proud of me. It's also just primal emotion, human emotions that I'm trying to provoke from somebody. Human needs. I just want to be loved. I'm scared and I'm lonely.
Yeah, I guess, you do, of course, every actor kind of boils down a scene to, intentions, objectives, and, being in the moment. So that's the kind of truth that you're trying to portray. And you can't necessarily come to it freighted with all these expectations, from a world that we've seen dramatized so many times. But I suppose for my character, if you were asking a question about sort of, these sort of female ideas of power, it would have been going back to these sort of medieval queens who were often the power behind the throne and sort of trying to find a more relatable equivalent than one that can sometimes feel a bit abstract if, it's an empress of 80,000 planets or something. It doesn't necessarily feel so immediately relatable. But, these sort of medieval queens who often had to go off and sort of pawn their jewellery in order to raise armies to do the work that their husband couldn't when they were indisposed, that starts to feel a lot more relatable. So that was kind of what I tried to use as my version of research, maybe.
I am a history nerd. Can I ask if there was a particular queen that you were really drawn to?
I'm kind of fascinated by the queens who were who brought Joan of Arc to power. That's my kind of period that I'm really interested in because they were all absolutely the power behind the throne. So that was kind of where I looked. Yeah.
Yeah, did you have anything like that?
No such thing. No. I'm just struggling to remember my lines.
There must be so much of the second you get into the costume, you get onto the set.
I'm trying so hard not to embarrass myself every day on set. literally.
But it must help to kind of put all the elements together, and you're kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
now I know the mindset of this world. I know what this world is.
I guess a lot of actors work that way, but it just sort of, I don't know, it sort of boils down to, for me, what I want from that person and looking at their face and ignoring everything else that's sort of going on. And doing that, that's my job anyway, and then the job of so many other people that make the background look so ridiculously amazing and epic, but at the same time really intimate and yeah.
Jodhi, your character does have a line about the idea of putting onto your daughter on screen putting on these costumes as a symbol of strength. I mean, did you find that, because there's a real sort of like toughness to these costumes, but also beauty to them. Did it help you get into the mindset when you were putting them on for each scene?
Yeah. I mean, I think I love the costumes. I thought they were extraordinary, and there's something that's almost like sort of chainmail about one of her costumes, and I find that scene really interesting because it's like she's sort of giving her daughter this piece of jewelry or armor, and she's telling her how to use it. It's almost like a samurai warrior, and there's this kind of idea about power, finding your voice that she's trying to pass on to her daughter that is not about being hobbled or dependent upon the sisterhood. So I think they really did inform character in that sense. And obviously there's a completely different kind of body language that you have to have, which is always useful as an actor, I think.
And the sets will blow your mind. It's pretty crazy what people can stick together these days with a bit of glue and scissors.
Yeah. I mean, they're incredible. They look sort of almost like a Ken Adams set for, Dr. Strangelove, a Kubrick film, or, Bertolucci's The Last Emperor. They're really epic and cinematic.
And everywhere you look too, it's not like there's a wall missing that side of the whole place. It's just
360 degrees.
You can't find a fault.
Yeah.
Till the camera hits me and you're like...
It's all me.
Idiot off the screen.
Oh dear.